We begin with the Republican primary race for Texas Senate District 31. The candidates for this race are Stormy Bradley, Jesse Quackenbush, Tim Reed, and Kevin Sparks. Jesse Quackenbush is unable to attend because he is in trial. We will take turns with who answers the questions, and we will begin with Stormy Bradley. The first question is, what training, experience, and background qualify you for this position?
I am a mother of 2 young boys. I have been a nurse for 11 years. I'm a wife. I own 2 steel businesses. I am a community servant. I serve on my hospital board, the chamber board, and my local school board. I grew up in a small rural West Texas town, and I graduated from Wink High School. I live in Coahoma, which is also a rural town in Howard County, and I operate a cattle ranch just south of there. What qualifies me is I am an everyday hardworking Texan, and I'm seeking to serve everyday hardworking Texans such as yourself and the people in this district.
Next, we will move to Tim Reed with that question. What training, experience, and background qualifies you for this position?
I had a 32-year career in law enforcement, 28 of those with the FBI. And those assignments were both locally here in Amarillo and overseas during the war effort concerning terrorism and security of our troops and information that we were gathering at the time. As far as the qualifications, one, the main qualification, I'm a citizen of Texas. That I think is the most important thing. The other is education is going to be one of our big issues. And I started as far as a career looking at service with my local schools. That led me to 8 years on the Kenyon School Board. Presently, I am an athletic director and director of campus safety and a teacher at Ascension Academy. I believe that, okay.
And we will last move on to Mr. Sparks, Kevin Sparks. What training, experience, and background qualify you for this position?
I'm a husband of more than 30 years to a cute little girl named Jill. We have 4 kids that are now grown. Our youngest is a sophomore in college. I've spent most of my life in Midland, Texas. I've worked in the oil and gas business for more than 35 years. And so as a businessman, I've spent that time creating jobs. And Jill and I have been involved in our community through our church, through numerous boards that I've served on, nonprofits for children and other ministries.
We will start the next question with Tim Reed. Healthcare continues to be a top concern of Texans. What, if anything, can the state of Texas do over the long term to ensure access to quality healthcare for all?
A healthy citizenry makes for a healthy state, and it is a very important issue as we look at healthcare and what we are able to do with it. About 37% of our state budget goes to Medicaid and Medicare. And then we also have our systems with in retirement with the benefits that they get with their health care. As a state, we have to look at those issues, and we have to determine what's going to be best for us as a state in making sure that we are healthy and what programs we can promote so that the general welfare of the people is addressed.
Okay, Mr. Sparks, Kevin Sparks, healthcare continues to be a top concern of Texans. What, if anything, can the state of Texas do over the long term to ensure access to quality healthcare?
Yeah, as already been stated, healthcare is our second largest budget item as a state. And so it's critical that we continue to find innovative ways for us to bring healthcare or the cost of healthcare down while maintaining, the high quality. I think one of the things that we've got to do, we've got to be able to trade insurance across lines. Another thing that I think is going to be critical for healthcare is finding ways that we can lessen our dependence on the federal government. A lot of the things that we've seen across the pandemic, issues have been created because we have too much dependency on the federal government for those funds.
And finally, Stormy Bradley, what, if anything, can the state of Texas do over the long term to ensure access to quality health care for everyone?
First and foremost, I believe that we have the individual responsibility to look out for the health of ourselves and our family. As a nurse, though, I worked in a critical access hospital, and providing resources to those hospitals, because in rural Texas, which this district is a rural community, it is crucial for the nurses to have all the certifications needed to be able to save your life in a critical situation before you can get transferred to a larger hospital. I think another way we can ensure this is helping community colleges and helping universities with their nursing and doctoral programs.
And the final question, we will begin with Kevin Sparks. When District 31 was redrawn by the Texas legislature last year, several Panhandle counties were removed from the district, while about a dozen were added from the Permian Basin area. How would you assure Panhandle residents you will represent their interests if elected? And do you see any potential for Panhandle interests to sometimes conflict with those of the Permian Basin?
Yeah, so in the redistricting process, as I understand it, our district needed to add about 70,000 population. District 28 needed about 100,000 population. And that's how they added counties to the south to be able to collect that population. I am from Midland, Texas, but have interest in the Panhandle, a lot of family up in the Panhandle. I also know that from our travel across the district that our citizenry is very like-minded. They're people of faith. They believe in giving back to their community. They're hardworking. And I would say from a business perspective, farming and ranching are their businesses, just like the oil and gas business is. I've spent 35 years helping run a successful small business, and I believe I can do that across the whole state. I intend to spend plenty of time as my full-time job as a state senator, making sure that all interests across the state are represented.
Thank you. Stormy Bradley, when the district was redrawn by the Texas legislature, several Panhandle counties were removed, while about a dozen were added from the Permian Basin area. How will you assure Panhandle residents that you'll represent their interests if elected? And do you see any potential for Panhandle interests to sometimes conflict with those of the Permian Basin?
I think as long as our elected officials have a broad scope of the industries that this district has, I think we can represent them well. I have an agriculture, aviation, and medical background, so I know that I can relate to the opportunities and struggles that these industries have. And I look forward to representing this district well, including the Panhandle.
Okay, and finally, we will go to Mr. Reed. And the question again, how will you assure Panhandle residents their interests are represented if you are elected? And do you see a potential for Panhandle interests to sometimes conflict with those of the Permian Basin?
Once the line were drawn and the district was formed, we became one. And the Permian Basin is more gas and oil. The Panhandle is more agriculture. But we have the same concerns and the same interests. We all want to make sure that we have a good economy, that we all have good jobs, that our health is taken care of, and that we have sustainable water and energy. Those are needs and wants throughout the district, and that's what I'll be representing. And so there is no conflict as far as I'm concerned.